Hi,
Hi.
welcome again.
Yeah, we're in separate houses now again.
Now we've got our two screens here.
We've had some
Back
busy
on one
days.
screen. Welcome
Oh,
to Sacred Soul Mornings. I'm Megan. This is my mom.
yes, and I'm Marcia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're here to talk about spiritual stuff. And part of that is going through the Tao Te Ching week by week in a living meditation where we read a chapter, think about a chapter, share it with each other multiple times a week. And here we are today sharing our ideas with everybody else. Here we are.
And and making connections with other people's thoughts
Yeah.
and enjoying that and applying it in real life time because even us today, we kind of our thoughts are kind of scattered in some other directions, but and so we were looking forward to, okay, let's talk about the Lao. That perspective and maybe get ourselves centered and grounded again with the things that are going on around us. And did you
Yeah.
want to read some of my connection things, or do you want to start with the
I
little
think we
chapter?
ought to read the chapter real quick.
Okay. Do
Figure
you
out
have a
the right
short
one.
version, or do you want
I
me
have
to
a
do
really
it?
short version.
Okay, there you go.
In my really not as modern version. So this is, here we go. The Tao Te Ching. It says, non-being is my title. What was your title this time?
My title was Intangible and Invisible Within Us. Of course, now that we've talked about it, we see the
Makes sense.
similarity.
It says 30 spokes joined in a hub form a wheel. The emptiness between the non-being makes the carriage useful. Clay kneaded forms a pot. The emptiness within the non-being makes the pot useful. Windows and doors chiseled create a house. The emptiness within, the non being, makes the house useful. Being and substance bring benefit. Non being and emptiness make things useful.
There you go. You
Cool.
know, a couple of years ago when you had checked out um, the Tao Ching, Tao Te Ching, and a translation. And I read the book while I was at your house, and it was this chapter. I didn't remember the chapter or the name of the chapter, but I remember the description of the clay pot, and I remembered the description of a house that it is the emptiness within the house that makes it useful for being a house. The emptiness inside the clay pot that makes it useful as a clay pot. And that's when it first just kind of it's like, whoa, I'm getting it now. I'm understanding it.
Yeah, like
The
revolution.
value, pardon me.
It was like a revolutionary thought, though, because I had a similar time of reading this the first time, all the way to this chapter, and didn't really get it until I got that wheel. And I remember sitting there thinking in my brain,
Oh,
going,
it's so
and honestly,
funny.
I felt like my brain was going to break. Every
Yeah.
time we get a new revelation and this unveiling, sometimes I have moments where I go, my brain is going to break. It's going to break. Too much, too much. And this was one of those
Hmm.
moments for me because I had to really think about the space in between the wheel
Hmm.
where the axle goes in, you call it that hub, and in
Yeah.
between the spokes.
Hmm.
That's where the usefulness is. And that blew my mind because of the application.
Wow. And folks, we didn't talk about this
No,
before.
we did not, not for right now. And so we made it all the way to chapter 11 in the Tao Te Ching, years ago. And I didn't get it until
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And I had
Me
an
too.
unveiling in this chapter in my mind of going, whoa, that's different. It made me
Mm-hmm.
have that little separation that maybe the physical is not it. Maybe there's stuff we can't tell physically what's going on that's just as important.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I'm gonna have to
Interesting.
ponder upon this some more.
Yeah. Mhm.
There's things that we just don't know, but that's the part that we try to have hang on to.
Yeah.
Contemplate. So now I'm gonna throw in my little thing here, okay?
Go ahead,
One of
Ellie.
my connections that I came up with, kind of. I know I Richard Rohr, maybe some people know about him. He's kind of been famous on TV a little bit, I think, with Oprah. But anyway, he runs a center of contemplation. And I'm sure I say the word wrong, but anyway, this is my Southern way of saying it. But anyway, um, so I read his email. I subscribe to the emails, and I read them from time to time. But anyway, I was thinking about contemplation and prayer. But anyway, so one of the things he said is contemplation is long, loving look at the real world around us. And one example is like looking at a leaf, and that made me think of Lao as he was doing all this contemplating and recording ideas, or someone was recording his ideas down. And so it made me think about that a little more, about contemplation. And it's hard to contemplate because of distractions of thought. Today, Megan and her environment, me and my environment, we've had a lot of distractions of thought. Some of them have been common, some of them are
This was not a
individual.
very Taoist day. I just realized that. I was not anchored.
Yeah. And so we're getting anchored, thinking about it and contemplating upon it. But anyway, and so we're drawn to dualities such as when we're being distracted as which is better, hot or cold tea, which is better, men or women, which is better, day or night, or rich or poor, or whatever. And that's what distracts our thinking a lot of times. And maybe just looking at a leaf and seeing what's great and wonderful about a leaf
And what is?
and what
What
is.
is instead of all,
Yeah.
yeah, I never thought about it with that duality, how our minds keep going back and forth and oscillating between imaginary
Hmm.
scenarios,
Yeah, that too.
big ones
Do
and
that a
little
lot.
ones. I had a lot today, but it's a normal human day.
Hmm.
And that's what was interesting is that it was a lot today. It was a normal human day, but none of it was like nobody was in the hospital. I
Yes.
didn't even
Hmm.
have a bill that I needed to pay today, I don't think.
Hmm.
So nothing changed from when I woke up to now, but my brain was going,
Hmm.
why? Because we just have that tendency. So we need to anchor. We
Hmm.
need to
And
contemplate.
it takes some kind of a bit of action. It does take a little bit of focusing on it. Another
The
word. I
decision.
know that I
A little
read
bit of
just
faith.
a
Little
few
bit of
minutes before Megan and I got on this. I read a little thing saying choosing to be happy. I know we get a lot of messages like that. Oh, you can um, you have this a choice. You can choose to be happy and then your world becomes happy, or you can choose to not. But this is the part, you choosing to be happy. It's not about pretending that everything is okay. I was so glad I read that today because sometimes I don't want to try to pretend like everything's okay. It's like I'm failing at this. I'm choosing to be happy, but it's not happening. And so there must be something
Mhm.
wrong with me. No, it's not. It's about not pretending that everything is okay. It's just that even in tough times, moments of happiness are still possible. And so,
Yeah. Well, I
like
think
hearing the little bird outside singing its songs right now at the minute is kind of I can choose to enjoy that while we're sitting here talking and be happy about that little sound that I hear out there. I don't know, that's a small
any type
example.
of mindfulness thing, if you're choosing. I think you're right though about that message. Because in the well, a new age, whatever new age means, but some of the new age thoughts that are not really new, we're just rediscovering them about vibrations and what you send out reflects back what you get, hermetics and everything, which is very true, but we're still missing a little bit there. I feel like we're missing something. And like you said, well, actually, it's like what I said this morning too. This morning in the car when I was driving around talking to you and I had my coffee, I remember what I said. I said, I keep using the word anchor, but this is like having peace is like an anchor in the storm. You are tied to the anchor. It does not make the wave stop.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's centering. It
Hmm.
says, I know who I am. The waves are still there.
Hmm.
It's not becoming so detached that you don't experience anything anymore. We're here in this human world for
Hmm.
whatever reason. We're still going to participate in the human game. We're still here. We're not going to become so detached that we have no emotions because that's
Right.
not fun.
Hmm.
You can't experience love without loss. Okay,
Hmm.
so that roller coaster or whatever,
Yeah.
we can have an anchor. And some of those anchoring things you were talking about were like anchoring through the physical senses and
Hmm.
appreciating what's in the moment.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about your joy chart. What do you call it? Your checklist of joy.
Where is my joy inventory?
Thank you. There's the word I was looking for.
My joy inventory. How did I lose the joy inventory? It's been like the message of the week. I'm sure my daughter took the joy inventory and colored on it. That's
She
probably where the
probably.
joy inventory is. No, it's not. It's right here. Let me do my sales pitch. No, it's not. It's great. Here's my joy inventory.
Mhm.
No, really, this is the first step for all my young adults and teenagers, actually, almost everybody that can contemplate it. For speech therapy and social language therapy is a joy inventory. We start here because people don't even know where they are in their bodies to know what brings them joy. So then how can you make a choice? How can you make a choice for yourself about social skills or not if you don't have a clue what you enjoy?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
don't really know. Maybe I can put a link. I'll put a link
Hmm.
in the comments about how to find this on my website. Even though it's for speech
Mhm.
therapy, you can still download it for free. And it is a
Mhm.
really great practice to go through.
It
Like,
is.
you love to look at. What do you hear, touch, smell, taste? Like, what's a small moment you remember feeling truly happy or peaceful? Describe it using your senses. This was really important to me when I figured this out for myself.
Mhm.
I remember like McDonald's coffee, which is not the best coffee in the world, but the smell is one of those things that's anchoring for me. And so I like to cultivate a life that's full of joy
Mhm.
because we're
Mhm.
here and why not? And McDonald's coffee is cheap enough that I can go almost every morning and experience the smell of McDonald's coffee
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
justify it because it's not about the money. I can go make my instant coffee too in my kitchen. But I need
Mhm.
that experience so that my cup
Mhm.
is full so I can go and help other people. Because if I go
Mhm.
on empty and my cup is never full, because that happens a lot in
Mhm.
my life with kids and a neurotic dog and
Oh, my little
the
grand
garden.
dog.
He's a grand dog, but he is neurotic.
He is.
I don't get my cup full.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that was
Joy inventory.
a little
Yeah. But
what,
I,
what's that
I'm
mean?
thankful for that.
Hyperbole? No, it's a
Well, tangent, whatever.
tangent. Thank you.
But I know that long time, several years ago. Anyway, I had someone that I was trusting to tell my stories to, and she asked me, "But Marsha, what do you enjoy?" I would have enjoyed having that joy inventory
Because we
because
don't.
I really didn't know what to say, and yeah, at that time.
Well, and most adults don't have a clue what to say. That's the point. Is
Hmm.
that we do as 2-year-olds, and then we slowly lose it because our compass is like way off
Hmm.
about our intuition and what we enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I had some rote things I could say, but it's like, you know, whatever. But anyway,
Vacations on the beach, everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, but
I could share things like that. Well, anyway, so one thing that when I was thinking about contemplation, just one more thing, and this, I'm thinking about this invisibleness and this intangibleness that Lao was describing, is being deeply aware of God's presence in everything that we do, or the creator or our source's presence in everything that we do or see, or the things with that joy inventory can bring to mind. So I was thinking about that. Looking deeply, living fully. I think this chapter 11 of the Lao kind of is encouraging us to do that.
of the Tao, Mom, of the Tao.
Of the Tao that Lao say. This has been a day, my brain.
You're
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Of the Tao by Lao.
There you go.
No, I agree with
Okay.
you. That's the non-being. The
Hmm.
non-being. So that is God in the being and the non-being. So like in the pot, what's inside the pot
Hmm. Hmm.
makes it useful. What's
Yeah.
inside the window and the door? That's what makes goes in and out of the house areas.
Hmm. And
That's what
about something you read about the body, even
yeah,
the
the
five
body.
senses.
Yes. It says that, the it says the four limbs and the 100 joints together form a body, like a human body, just as the 30 spokes join in a hub to form a wheel, which is from that chapter. Flesh and blood, skin and bones create the substance of the human form, just as clay forms the pot. But it is the seven apertures or orifices, ears, nostrils, eyes, and mouth, and the emptiness within that enable us to resonate with the outer world.
Yeah.
That's why this is so important because of the senses.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
just as windows and doors and the emptiness within that make a house useful.
Hmm. So God,
Yeah.
in and around us.
And
Oh.
Yeah. Do you have something to add to that, or you want to talk about faith?
Um, well, can I go ahead? Can I do one more thing before we get to
Yeah,
faith?
for sure.
So some practical applications, and I know that one of the things that I found and I appreciated is this message can be applied to art, meditation, and relationships. So I read on to see what that was about. Emptiness can be seen as a state of mental clarity and freedom from unnecessary thought, but the art part, in art, and Megan's an artist, there are artists out here hopefully watching this, but anyway, in art, the empty spaces in between the elements can be as important as the elements themselves, adding depth and meaning. So that emptiness,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm sure artists, when they are creating that way and have that in their mind, uh, probably are experiencing God in some sort of way
Oh, yeah.
when
Well,
they're
I
doing
mean,
that.
humans that appreciate art like to have that balance. They like to see the negative and the positive space balanced. Otherwise, it's unsettling. So even our own nature as viewers of art, not just producers of art, you want that to be balanced.
Mhm.
It feels unsettling. You don't like it, even in sculptures, even in something where the negative is not as easily noticed, like in a sculpture. You only see the positive. But if it's not balanced correctly, we feel unsettled, and we
Mhm.
don't like it. Humans just
Yeah,
love the things to be balanced that way.
that's what I made.
Yeah.
And in relationships, and then I'll be done. In relationships, embracing emptiness can lead to more understanding and empathy. So that's something to think about as we are able to see the other person's perspective without judgment. So if you get to that place of no judgment, that emptiness, I guess it could be described as, then you would have more empathy for what another person's going through, even
Yes.
though you might not be going through it
Instead
yourself.
of just focusing on what they are doing
Yeah. Hmm.
and making a tally mark of everything they've done that's bad.
Yeah.
That is
Hmm.
really hard.
It is. It's a biggie.
Oh, man, that's hard, especially in a society of let's make a checklist. I think of my work and even with children with behavioral difficulties or young adults with behavioral difficulties, once we have that happen, right? You qualify for EBD. You are a behavior difficult labeled person, whatever that means. You go in there and what do you do? You start your behavior, what is it called? I can't remember now. Thank goodness I forgot. Your FBA, your functional behavioral assessment, you start making tally marks and you start looking at the clock and then you figure out how the percentage wise works and then you start making a behavior intervention plan. And then it's
Mhm.
only based on this kid does this. It has nothing to do with all the other parts of this kid. You're not paying attention to the other parts.
Yeah.
Ugh, yucky. Okay. It's good to recognize things like that, though.
Mhm.
We need people to call things out. So, faith. This is what really hit me about this little bitty chapter at this time of reading it versus the first bazillion times of
Mhm.
reading it. With non-being, you were talking about how, oh, got 10 minutes. I hate that. 10 minutes.
Mhm.
You were talking about how choose to be happy, and all the frequencies will be happy, and you'll get happy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Happy life experiences. And then you go, oh, rats, I'm not happy. Oh no, the fridge broke. Oh no, the ovens broke. Oh no, car accident. It's my fault on top of that
Yeah.
because I didn't manifest it. I'm terrible. Anyway,
Mhm.
let's take a step back and think about this as faith and with biblical lens because I do not think the Bible is out of line with any of these teachings. I think it is full of mystic wisdom, just like the Tao Te Ching. You just have to have the right lenses on. So if we think at the beginning in Genesis, only like 10 minutes, Genesis, everything was created out of that unseen, right? Very first, like verses. The earth was without form, void, darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. That's powerful to think about. That all
Mhm.
of this came into existence from the non-being.
Mhm.
And then Hebrews. Hebrews 11, um, that whole chapter goes through about this is what faith is. These are all the people through all these wisdom books of the Old Testament that had faith. And this is how it turned out for them.
Mhm.
And pretty much the story is
Mhm.
I'm going to read a little bit because
Yes, yes.
so hold on.
Yeah.
let's just, yeah, forget I said it. Verse 1, it says, chapter 11, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Okay, so for by it the men of old gained approval. By faith we understand that the worlds were prepared by the word of God, so that when is seen was not made out of things which are visible. And then it goes through all the people that live by faith. And so because we watched that little movie about David again, or TV show. Lately, David's on my mind a little fresher, but he normally is. And I like to think of the Psalms as being mantras. And I do
Mhm.
that with the Psalms myself,
Mhm.
once at a line. It's not that when he was killing the lion or going to go out and meet Goliath, it's not that he knew he was going to be okay.
Mhm.
It's that he knew God led him because he believed in it. So if there's anything about manifestation, that's what it is. Is he is saying, the Lord is my shepherd. I'm not lacking anything. I'm going
Mhm.
to have good
Mhm.
water, green pastures. He kept going, but that's it. I mean, at that basic level, you're in a stressful situation. That's it. Is that he's,
Mhm.
I'm going to trust that. And so all these people, Abraham and Noah and Sarah and Moses and Joseph, everybody did not see the end result in their stories a lot of times.
Mhm.
And it says
Mhm.
that. Mhm.
Mhm.
It says they may not have seen the end result. I don't know where that says that, but anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, it says in 39, verse 39, and all these having gained approval through their faith did not receive what was promised, because God had provided something better for us, so that apart from us they would not be made perfect. So there was a bigger thing going on behind the scenes with the unseen.
Mhm.
So I
Yes.
think Job fits right in there. I thought about Job again.
Very, very comforting.
It is. And then last one, the mustard seed.
Yeah, the mustard seed.
The mustard seed. But I didn't get it as a child at all. I'd sit there and think and go, boy, don't I have faith? Don't I have faith? Why is that mountain not moving? Like literally. Like going,
Mhm.
hello, hill. Looking at that hill right there. We had like two hills from our house. Look at the hill all day long, like hours. I mean, last night I had enough television stations. So I could sit there and watch that hill, and I tell you what, it didn't budge. Mhm. What
And
I'm
you
talking
knew you had faith. You
I
knew
had
you had
some real good
faith.
faith in Jesus, or what I don't even know what I
Yeah.
had. But then I also started going, what does this mean?
Yeah.
I believe in Jesus now. I don't know what that means. Chapter 13 is a parable by Jesus. Uh,
Matthew. Yeah.
well, no, it's not Matt. It's by Jesus. It's got the red letters.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
book of Matthew is in the red letters, so we're safe there, right? Um, the mustard seed, he said, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed which a man took and sowed in his field. And this is smaller than all other seeds, but when it is full grown, it is larger than the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and nest in its branches. That's what I was talking about there. But if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. It's the belief the size of a mustard seed sowed into the thoughts of the mind, the unseen, is so powerful that it can move mountains. Maybe not in your direct lifetime. It has to be in accordance with the whole.
Mhm.
But we can rest in the anchor of knowing that for those who believe, it's okay. We're going to be okay, regardless if we see the end outcome.
Mhm.
And that we're not off path. We're not drifting in the seas. We're not lost in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere.
Mhm.
We're held by an anchor. And it's
Mhm.
okay.
It's going to be okay. I know that's how we started our morning
So we start if we
this
started
morning.
it that way, and boy, didn't we get off in
Yeah. And it kind of had to ride some waves.
the Bermuda Triangle. Woo! Why? I don't know. And this is us living this life of actually thinking about this stuff. And so quickly our brains can get.
Distracted. Yeah.
Mhm.
So is it about time?
Got 4 minutes, Mom.
Yeah.
You
So
21
this is
subscribers.
a big, oh, go ahead. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, 21 subscribers. We can only get the free version of Zoom right now. So we've got 41 or 40 minutes for everything. I just,
Yeah.
we're not rolling in the dough.
There's no dough. Not with
Please do.
this.
Go ahead.
But gosh, what was I thinking?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it wasn't big. But anyway, oh, subscribers, that's when you were saying that. Um, yes, and if you do, any comments, we would
We'd
love to,
love to ask and answer questions. That would be way fun if anybody ever wants to do that.
or just share your thought. you know,
Yeah,
it would be encouraging, I
our little
think.
wave. Because right now in our little climate of politics and things, that's probably what got me off this morning, actually. That's probably what did
Mhm.
is I looked on Yahoo News.
Mhm.
We could feel kind of lonely
It does. It does.
and go, what is going on?
Yeah.
So that anchor is
Um,
really timely for us.
mhm.
Right. So
You want me to mention the name of the next chapter?
yes, let's do it. I was ready for this one.
Oh, you are.
Me.
Mine says mysterious and internal, chapter 12.
Mine says the belly and not the eye. I was ready for the belly and the eyes.
Okay,
So
there we go.
so we'll
Okay.
talk about that next time. I love it because it has to do with the senses.
Oh, good. See, it just all kind of flows.
It does. It just flows because Lao
Yeah.
Tzu, when he wrote this, was being led by faith that he didn't even know how long we'd be holding on to these writings. 600 years before Jesus. Here we are finding crumbs of manna from the unseen, from the divine, right?
Yes.
Wow. Because some people need to have crumbs, and other people don't care. But I needed the crumbs and I suck them up.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you all. Yeah, please subscribe if you have not. We love seeing there's other people out there like this.
And
Very accepting.
thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. This has been Sacred Soul Mornings. Life is a journey, not a checklist. So enjoy the entire ride. Thanks.
Bye, Megan. Bye, everybody.